It's about design, it's about the usability, and how can you get the best out of the least amount of money but with the highest quality. And believe it or not, these will go hand in hand, all of them. And of course, as we grow, with society, the society's needs change. There was a time that we went and built houses, and quality was important. And I used to throw a stick of wood, wasn't good enough, throw it away. And today we still do the same thing, but we don't throw it away. We cut it in pieces and try to use it, where it can do the job, because it's not, when you twist it, piece of wood, we cut it in small pieces, then it's a good wood. There was a time that, there was no concern about, driving my truck and going to site and leave it idle and go in the house for 15 minutes and talk to the framer, come out and get going. But we can't do that anymore. There was a time that you build a house, you never worried about, the air change, that how much there's leakage or not, but it's important, Now suddenly we see when we build thousands of homes, suddenly there is a huge responsibility on our back. What is this house going to do for the next 50 years? Our homes last about 100 years easily. Actually, they last better than the brick and mortar homes, because they're dry, and brick and mortar homes, they need repairs every 20 years or so. So now we build these houses, we build it now, wonderful quality, but if it's a sieve, if it wastes energy for the next 50, 100 years, then we haven't done the right job. So now we have to build a house that when you live in it, that you're also taking care of your community, your environment. You don't waste energy. It's very efficient. It's very healthy. It's, good air quality. So there are all those things to worry about. Do clients know that we do those things? Maybe 10, 15%, but it doesn't really matter. We do them because it becomes norm. These things, it's happening already. There's a lot of push for sustainability. So then, about 10 years ago, we started to think about becoming sustainable, becoming energy efficient homes. And we have become essentially very, very obsessive with that. And that's one obsession that's good, because really feel that not only that we can do something for our own house and our customers, but we can help to promote this so that the other builders will do the same thing. And we have, we came up with there's an author by the name Jim Collins. He's written a number of books, business books, and one of them is called Good to Great. And this expression, BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. BHAG, the acronym BHAG. And so it's a wonderful book. So our BHAG really is that we want to be the most sustainable home builder ever, anywhere, and no matter how long it takes, but we don't have the luxury of waiting for too long. So we set a goal for ourselves that by 2015, all of Landmark Homes will be net zero homes, or net zero ready. A net zero home means that you will never use more energy than you produce. So you become neutral, carbon neutral, if you may. A home every year, there's some homes, of course, there's some numbers are thrown, but by living in a house that was built 10 years ago, we put some 14 to 15 tons of greenhouse gases in the air every year. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. We waste water, we waste electricity, we waste heat. It's uncomfortable, the air is not good. So we have to mitigate those things. So in net zero, when we use a kilowatt of electricity, we have to be cognizant of what happens with this electricity. Where does it come from? It comes sometime from 1,000 miles, sometime from Wabman, or next door. Sometime, it just depends, the usage of electricity. So now, if you look at, for example, 1 kilowatt of electricity. Now, I don't have all the numbers, very, very absolute, but just for an example, it comes from a coal-burning facility, power station. To get for example, a kilowatt of electricity, it would take, let's say, or 1,000 kilowatts of electricity, let's say, it would take a bunch of coal that they have to burn. But coal is extremely dirty, puts a lot of real awful stuff in the air. Even today, when they, have the technology has advanced. But to get the coal, they have to, send engineers and, find the coal mine. So they spend a lot of trips, and people sit in their offices and they drink coffee and they burn electricity and they use their computers and then they go to site. See, when you go upstream and you get to that 1 kilowatt electricity, it really tells you how wasteful we are. So then they have to haul that, they send the machines there to dig the coal. And they strip, mine, and of course, it's really awful. But then they move the coal to some place and they store it. From there, they send it to different places like the power plant. So these are transportations and waiting, transportation and storage. Then they burn that, in the station, power station or power plant, and then for every, for example, in terms of energy content, for every 100 units of energy that coal has, you can only get 20 to 25% out. The rest is wasted. Then that goes on the grid. By the time it gets to our house, it loses another 5 or 6 to 10%. Then we turn the light on. Well, our light is only 20% off. So we get 20% out, 20% out, 20% out, 20%. By the time that it was a big pile of coal for us to turn the light on for just a couple of hours. That's a tremendous waste. So what we try to do is that we try not to use that power. Do we need the power? Of course we need the power. We cannot live, like hermits. But we can produce the power in different ways that are much cleaner. But the first thing that you do to mitigate that is savings, or stopping wastage. So, of course, when we leave, we have to turn the lights off and all this, and all those will help. But we have to go beyond that. Our houses used to be, there's something called Energuide rating, and our house used to be, as I said, very, very inefficient. So if you build a very efficient house, your furnace doesn't go on all the time. The heat stays in the house, so you don't have to use the gas very much. And you can make it so good that with a small number of solar panels, for example, or some other ways of getting energy from the ground, for example, like geothermal, you can make it so that the amount of energy that you use, at night, for example, during the day, you can create it with the sun, with solar power, and you get some heat from the ground, for example, to heat your house. So at some point, you can generate enough energy from your solar panels that you use during the night or even during the day in a way that becomes neutral. So you sell as much power to the grid as you used in the house. So now you didn't use, even though you used electricity, but you also put some clean electricity on the grid. So that way you become neutral, what's called carbon neutral. And that's fantastic. The buildings in North America use 1/3 of the total energy, and also they put 1/3 of the total carbon emission, greenhouse gases in the air. 1/3. Housing is 17%. That is so huge number, such a huge number. So if we start to build our houses in an energy efficient manner and build the houses that are so efficient that they don't use energy, and if they run clean, and you can take then maybe in 25 or 30 years, if everybody joins this, and then you save 17% of the emission, of total emission, that is such a huge number. That's mind-boggling. But we are not alone, so if we do that, then the other builders, the commercial builders will do the same thing. That means 1/3. But the car industry also is doing something. So if everybody does that, we can get to a point that we can use a fraction of the power that we use today and the energy that we use today. And hopefully then, there's hope for survival. And those are the kind of things that, goes through our mind, in our company. So our goal is to create energy efficient net zero homes by 2015 or net zero ready. By that time, we feel pretty comfortable that the solar technology and other power generating technology have advanced quite a bit, that with a reasonable amount of money, you can also install those and become net zero. And we also have adopted the manufacturing process. When we build a house, there's a lot of waste in building a house in the open. Somebody, and I don't know who, came up with this analogy that imagine that you bought your car in a big box with 50,000 pieces of, tires and bolts and, body, and then spread everything on a big driveway and start putting it together. And that's how we build our houses. From scratch, piece by piece, you put it together. So when it goes in the factory, you can control it. The quality goes way up. There's no waste. You don't have the elements to fight with. So we have started manufacturing because it saves a lot of, again, waste and energy. And we're expanding, actually building a very large manufacturing facilities that will be finished by the end of the year. It's fully automated, computer controlled, and so that saves a lot of waste. And so the other benefit that we get out of this one is the affordability. We have to, for our own survival, as a builder, even if we were totally selfish and we only did things for money, we have to make sure that we keep the houses affordable so people can buy. And by going to manufacturing, again, so you can keep the cost at the bay because, again, imagine, to frame a house, 4 or 5 people have to go for 12 days or 15 days or 16 days in a drive, 4 trucks back and forth, and, the trucks bring lumber and whatever, so it goes in the factory, it's perfect, ideal condition. It is automated, quality is so superb. So and the cost goes down. So affordability also is our responsibility because we have to be community minded. We have to constantly, that's everybody's dream, our children's dream. So we have to make it so that they can afford it. So there are many different fronts that we have to deal with as a home builder. It's not just, we're not here to just build houses. We know how to do it, and we don't really we cannot use any more money than we have, except, when we die, somebody else uses it and say that, oh, thank you, Dad, or thank you, whatever, But our children, mine or our colleagues, they all, self-sufficient. They become, in today's, they're all educated, and so we have to do something useful with this, this gift that we have. So as a home builder, we can make a difference. My dream, and I only dream during the day, because, so I'm sober and awake so that I don't have dreams that are impossible. Dream is to be able to influence the building community, and so that they adopt, all these steps, so that we become sustainable, and then spreads from here to North America, and one day everybody builds their net zero homes soon, and that's a big step. That's to die thinking that you had a hand in that itself is worth life.